Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Code for Kids Intermediate and Senior Phase Teacher Training session. I'm just going to give it like 10 seconds more to have everybody in the waiting room join, and then we're going to get started today. Okay, so again, a very big welcome to everyone joining us today. My name is Demi, your teacher trainer here at Code for Kids, and I'm joined today by my colleague and fellow teacher trainer, Alison. We are thrilled to have so many teachers in attendance today, eager and excited to learn about the Code for Kids curriculum and the platform and how Code for Kids can be used to bring coding and robotics to the school classroom. So just some housekeeping before we begin. Please make use of the Zoom chat to share any feedback, comments, or ideas that you have. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A button to ask these. Our team will be monitoring the Q&A throughout the session and will respond to you either in this session, or if we're unable to get back to you, we will email you after the webinar to make sure that your questions are answered. We've also kept some time at the end of today's session to answer any questions you have. So if there's anything you're unsure of or anything you'd like to know, please don't hesitate to ask us in the Q&A tab. Code for Kids is dedicated to helping teachers bring coding and robotics into their school classrooms through continuous teacher support, training, and professional development. Over the past few months, we've welcomed some amazing panelists who've answered your burning questions regarding the CAPS coding and robotics documents. We've shared valuable information and practical lesson ideas for the foundation phase classroom. If this is your first time joining a Code for Kids webinar, welcome. And please note that you can access the recordings of previous webinars by visiting our website, www.c4k.io. Today, we are excited to shine the spotlight on our very own Code for Kids platform and curriculum content, and to showcase how easy it is to use Code for Kids to teach CAPS-aligned coding and robotics lessons. In a moment, we'll start up by setting up your free account and exploring the dashboard. Then we'll dive into the fantastic teacher guides and all the resources that are available for you on the Code for Kids platform. After that, it's time for some hands-on learning. We'll guide you through a grade 4 and a grade 5 lesson, adding students, and going further with our extended learning lessons. Lastly, we'll show you how Code for Kids can be integrated into other subjects. So without further ado, let's dive in. Before we begin, please feel free to follow along with this demo on your own device. First up, I'd like to walk you through the process of creating a Code for Kids account for your school. You can do this quickly and easily by going to our Code for Kids website. That's www.c4k.io, and we'll pop that link for you in the chat now. On the website, you can click on the register button on the top right-hand corner of the screen if you'd like to create a new Code for Kids account. If you already have a Code for Kids account, you can click on the login button. By clicking on the register button, it will take you to a page that looks like this, where you'll be able to fill in your name, your email address, and the name of your school or your organization. You'll then need to choose your role. If you're unsure of what to pick, I would suggest you select teacher. In the country section, South Africa is pre-selected. But if you're affiliated to a school that's not in South Africa, please feel free to either use the search bar or to use the flags to find your country. Lastly, you'll need to set a password for yourself, which you can do in the password field. And then you simply click Teach Your First Lesson button. This will create your Code for Kids account, and you'll be redirected to your new Code for Kids account dashboard. One important thing to mention here is that when you create a Code for Kids account for your school, you will automatically be assigned a teacher profile as well as an admin profile. And the differences between these two profiles are important to understand. Teacher profiles can see all the Code for Kids courses and assign these courses to specific classes or to groups. Teacher profiles can also add, remove, and manage students' accounts. Admin profiles have a slightly higher level of permissions in that they're able to add other teacher accounts. So you could add your colleagues to your school dashboard, and then can assign other people to administrators as well. For today, we're going to demonstrate the Code for Kids dashboard using a teacher profile. So let's dive in and explore the dashboard. On the left-hand panel, you'll see a few different sections of your Code for Kids dashboard. First off, you have the Courses tab. This is where you will find all the Code for Kids courses. Code for Kids offers a complete individual CAPS-aligned course for grade R all the way up to grade 9, as well as some additional extension courses that go over and above what is required by CAPS. The next one is our Students tab. Here's where you can add, remove, and manage student accounts. You can add students one by clicking on the New Student button on the top right corner, and you'll need to fill in the student's full name and assign them a password. This can be something really simple, like the word coding, for example. You can then also assign that student to a specific class or group, or you can create a new group and put that student in. If you want to add many students at once, you can do a bulk import by clicking on the Import Students button here at the top of the screen. This will take you to a screen where you'll be guided through the process of populating a spreadsheet of your students' names, including fields for their full name, their passwords, and the group or class they're going to be assigned to. You'll then upload that spreadsheet as a CSV, and this will very quickly create student accounts for all your students. It's also important to mention that you can always reset or change your students' passwords if you need to. To do this, you'll simply go to the Students tab and either using the search button, search for a student or selecting a student from the list. You can then simply fill in a new password for that student and then click the Save Student button at the bottom of the screen. The last item on the left panel is the Resources section. And this is where you'll find additional teacher resources and student resources to help you teach the Code for Kids curriculum. Included in the resources are fundamental guides for Scratch and for Microbit. Scratch and Microbit are occasionally used throughout the Code for Kids lessons, and the fundamental guides are designed to help you as a teacher get to grips with and make the most of these tools. These are freely accessible to all of you. So please go have a look through them if you'd like to learn a little bit more about teaching with Scratch or with Microbit. In a bit, Alison is also going to demonstrate a Microbit lesson for you. In the Student Resources section, we focus on lessons for the foundation phase. So if your school is interested in expanding to the foundation phase, please have a look at these lessons here to view our online foundation phase lessons. And lastly, we have a basic teacher guide on teaching with technology. This is designed to help teachers who have never taught computers before get started with using technology in their classroom. All our fundamental guides, our teacher guides, and lesson plans, including our learner worksheets, are shared with you as a PDF, so you can easily print them or download them for offline use. Now, the next thing I want to show you before we dive into our lesson is the assessments and progress tracking module. This feature is for schools with an active and paid up Code for Kids license. In the assessments and progress tracking module, you can quickly and easily get a sense of how your students are progressing through the curriculum. In this case, we're going to have a look at the grade 3 group of students. By clicking on the arrow next to each term, you'll be able to see each and every lesson that your students have opened. Each one of these blocks represents a lesson, and each segment of that block represents a section or a tab within that lesson. If the segment is green, it means that the section was completed by your student. If the section is orange, it means that the section was attempted by the learner. And if the segment is red, it means that the section is incomplete. By clicking on any one of these segments within the block, it will take you straight to that learner's work, so you can easily see what has and what has not been completed and how far the learner may have gotten with that lesson. You'll also find at the top of the screen, you can see a download, you'll be able to download a PDF report as well as an Excel spreadsheet report. This assessment module and the reporting feature is designed to make reporting on your students' progress as simple and as easy as possible. Okay, so let's dive into what a lesson entails on the Code for Kids dashboard. I'm going to explore today lesson 1 of term 1 in the grade 5 course. So by opening up your grade 5 module, you'll see that the content is divided into 4 terms. You can then open each term to view the lessons. Lessons are added each week, so new lessons are constantly coming onto the platform. At the top of the page, you'll find the teacher guide. This teacher guide is a world of information for you. It starts off by going through an overview of the curriculum and of the assessments. It then goes through the CAPS competencies and skills, and this is taken directly from the CAPS document. Following this, we have, I think, one of my favorite things, the wonderful curriculum map that shows you at a glance each lesson and the focus CAPS content area for each of those lessons in the term. We then break down each of the lessons, providing an outcome and the CAPS competencies and skills covered in that lesson. And then moving on from here, we give you a tracking sheet for each of the competencies, where you can record the date that you covered that competency on. And then the same is provided for all the skills. Lastly, we provide rubrics for teachers wanting to record an observation rating for your students. The teacher guide is very detailed and is going to help you as teachers with planning and the progression of your coding lessons. Now, let's look at grade 5, term 1, lesson 1, digital citizenship and technology all around us. At first, you'll find the teacher resources button, which will show you a lesson plan for that lesson. This lesson plan really gives you an overview of everything you need in the lesson, starting by the lesson outcomes, the resources that you're going to use in the lesson, as well as some vocabulary that your students are going to encounter throughout this lesson. We then give you a breakdown of the activity or that lesson as an independent task where it goes through each of the tabs that your students will see on their dashboard and what they meant to do on that tab. We also provide a guided structure for the lesson, breaking down with time allocations and what you could be doing throughout that lesson at each specific time. Moving on, we share with you a workspace memo for any of the workspaces that can have a memo. Okay, so let's look at the workspace itself and the lesson your students are going to complete. By clicking on the Open Lesson button as a teacher, you get to this page where students can use the information on the screen to log into their school account. They can either go to app.c4k.io, enter in this join code, and then log in using their name and password to get to the lesson. Alternatively, students can go to their school's unique URL, which is generally the school's name.c4k.io, and log in using their details. As a teacher, you're going to go to the lesson, and this is going to take you directly to the dashboard. Now, as you complete lessons on the workspace or on the dashboard, you're going to see it gets marked green and with a little tick to say that they've been completed. As a teacher, you might teach the same lesson to multiple classes, and you'd like to have a clean copy of the lesson as you start with each class. To do this, you're going to go to the top left corner on the 3 dots in a circle and click on Hard Reset Lesson. This is going to clear out any work that's been previously done and leave you with a fresh copy for your current class. Once the lesson has been reset, you're going to open it up again and you'll see all the dashboards have been cleared now and you've got this copy. So let's take a look at each of the tabs or the workspaces. We start off always with an introduction, introducing the topic of the lesson, and then a getting started page that tells you what we're going to explore in the lesson and the activity that's going to be covered. From then on, you have various tabs that will change from lesson to lesson. In this lesson, we have a discussion where you have an activity that you can do with your students as a group or as a class. We then provide some information about the lesson we're going to cover today, and then we have a second discussion in this particular lesson. Next up, we have a video that students can watch, and once they've watched and completed it, they can click the I confirm I've watched this video button to mark it as completed. Then we get to some of the tasks. Now, the tasks use various tools for students to answer the questions on each task. In this task, for example, students need to use the drawing tool to circle any of the digital devices on this page. They'll select the drawing tool. They can then choose a color for the tool, and using this little slider, can choose the thickness of the line. Then simply drawing on the page, they can circle any object that is a digital device. If students want a perfect circle, they can also use the Draw Shapes tool, where they can select the circle and use that to circle any of the digital devices. It's important here that students make sure they select a blank color or a clear color inside the circle so that you can still see the object. And then simply dragging across the object will create that circle. Moving on to task 2, we introduce a new tool, the text tool. Here, students can use a little text box to type and fill in their answer. For this activity, students will use the text tool to provide an answer in the space provided to the questions. So first question is, what digital devices do you use to wake up or to make breakfast? So simply selecting the text tool, clicking in the box, it will create this text box. They can then use their keyboard and type out their answer. So an alarm clock could be a digital device that they use to wake up with. Students can also use these little squares around the text box to make the text larger or smaller, or using the select tool, they can drag it and place it where they need it to be. On the last task, students can use any of the tools available to create a digital poster with 3 tips to help them stay safe online. These tools include the drawing tool, a highlighter tool, the shapes tool, an eraser, or the text tool. And then lastly, students have an explore activity where they'll take what they've learned and explore it in more detail through a fun activity or game. Here you'll see students get taken through a game where it gives them the instructions, and then they can click on start and go through each of these pages answering the questions of this activity. And that is our dashboard summed up very, very briefly. I'd now like to hand over to Alison, who's going to take us through a Microbit lesson, the extended learning lessons, and how Code for Kids can be integrated into other subjects. Over to you, Alison.
Wonderful. Thank you, Demi. So we are going to be looking at some Microbit lessons, as mentioned in our curriculum, which is a great way for students to gain an understanding of how we can control hardware through programming. We're going to have a look at the resources button, and in the resources, we should have our fundamental guides. In the fundamental guide, you will be able to find out exactly how the microbits are going to be working. And here we're going to be introducing microbits. What is a microbit? So a microbit is a small computer that introduces students to physical coding. And it has 25 LED buttons and sensors, that many other inputs and output features that can be programmed. We're going to have a look at how Code for Kids is going to add this using a virtual microbit, which is using an application called MakeCode. In MakeCode, the students are going to get a microbit that is going to be virtual, and so they're going to learn all the coding aspects that go along with that. Now we're going to go and have a look at a microbit lesson. In grade 4, we introduced microbits, and here on lesson 6, you will be able to get the lesson plan and a teacher presentation. As Demi already demonstrated, the lesson plan will go into great detail about exactly how to use microbits and what all the different various tabs are going to be required to teach it. There will also be a memo for the different tabs for that lesson. Then you will also see that sometimes there is a teacher presentation. This teacher presentation is here because once you go into the Microbit MakeCode application, then you will make use of the teacher presentation. We're going to have a look at the lesson now. So as you can see, the students will open their lesson. And once again, as demonstrated before, they will move from left to right, the tabs at the top, learning all about microbits, what they are, and doing little tasks in between. Towards the end of the lesson, they will have the Explore button, and this is where your students will be able to click on the button and go into the Microbit MakeCode virtual application. In the very first lesson, you will see that they are going to just be learning all about how the UX and the UI work with MakeCode. By the time the students continue with 4 lessons later, you will see that the lesson plan is going to take them through step by step the teacher presentation of how to do a little project using MakeCode. So please go and have a look at all those different lessons and the lesson plans and the presentations that go along with it. Nothing, you don't need to do any preparation other than use all the resources that Code for Kids have given you. Now we're going to go and have a look at some of our extended courses. So if you go down to the bottom where your courses are, you will see that we have these extended learning courses. And these are fantastic for those students who need that little bit of extra coding and robotics, or perhaps if you're using it for a coding club or extending their learning. The first one is My First Website with HTML and CSS. Then we have Test the Dog using JavaScript and Kip the Robot also using JavaScript. In the very first My First Website, we have a course that has 4 lessons, typically 1 hour each. These teacher resources will have a teacher presentation, as well as a tutorial video that can help you to watch the video and prepare for your lesson. The students will also click on the Open Lesson button, and this will take them into their My Country, South Africa. On the left-hand side, you will see this looks quite different. It has the code on the left-hand side, rendering in real time, and on the right-hand side will be the website. You will also be working from left to right along the top through the different tabs and through the different tasks. On the left-hand side, the tasks are written in gray, and the students will then go and remove question marks and change the information on the left-hand side, which will reflect on the right-hand side. Every single lesson will take the students through different aspects of website building, including headers, including paragraphs, how to input, embed images, how to create lists, ordered lists, unordered lists, and how to include tables. And step by step, the students will go through the tasks and learn all these different skills. At the end of the lesson, a student will be able to do a nice open-ended challenge where they will use the skills that they've learned in the previous tabs to do an open-ended little project. So here, for example, they can go and create their own My New Country tab, and they can choose any topic they like, or any place they like. They might say Minecraft world or anything interesting to them. And they are able to go and change all the information here on the left-hand side, and it will be coming up on their website on the right-hand side. There's also an opportunity for them to go and use some drawing tools and drawing skills to go and create themselves a flag. The flag and an animal can also be embedded into the images over here, into the whiteboard tab, and then these images will pull through to their My First Website, My New Country. So they can have their own national animal and their own national flag. And the lessons continue and get more interesting and a little bit more complicated in learning all the basics of website building. Then we also have our lessons in Test the Dog. And TEST is object-oriented programming, where we have a little dog and we run the code, and the little dog is going to be moving along and putting down balls. And the students are going to need to type out the text-based coding to get the dog to do the different commands and complete the different tasks. As the lessons progress and get more difficult, the little dog will need to change colors. The little dog will need to later on create functions to build rows, columns, design a little flag, and then sometimes there are 2 dogs that the students will need to program. So the students will have a lot of fun doing all these various different tasks in Test the Dog. Then we also mentioned once before that we are doing robotics, but that many of our courses have virtual robots. So we will look at Kip the Robot. Again, this is 4 lessons, and this is going to be a JavaScript course. Kip the Robot can do all sorts of different things. Kip can move, Kip can turn, Kip can move in different degrees, and we look at what makes a robot. Then when the students are doing their tasks, once again, it is a text-based code that the students are going to do, and reading the tasks in gray, the teacher will read that, and the students will move their little robot using specific commands to get them to complete the tasks. the tasks get more difficult. We look at map skills, we look at all sorts of different things. And in the end, in our very last lesson, we bring in many geometry concepts where students are now going to move their little robot in degrees and get this robot to go and create things like equilateral triangles or even a 3D shape. So here they will go and add the text-based coding to complete their 3D shape. And then finally, we have some keyboard and mouse skills, which is important for students to do in their spare time at any point there. Now I'm going to stop sharing our platform and our dashboard, and we go into how we can integrate lessons into the extended into other subjects. With our coding and robotics curriculum, we believe that it is important for students to enhance and extend their skills. We have included additional lessons and resources to ensure that skills such as digital citizenship and application skills are addressed. Many of our lessons integrate more than one content area. For example, lessons may focus on using specific digital applications, but will incorporate knowledge of other subjects. Let's take a look at a few examples. When students use applications such as Google Docs or Microsoft Word, they are learning specific formatting tools, but also language and comprehension skills, creating tables, and even designing a book cover. With the introduction of CAD drawing skills, a number of subjects will be covered in geography, mathematics, and art and design. When learning block-based coding through the use of Microbits, Scratch, and all sorts of other applications, students learn more about a wide range of additional subjects. There are sound exploration lessons where students create a doorbell or alarm clock jingle and gain an understanding of music concepts such as tempo, melody, and simple notes on a keyboard. Other Microbit lessons explore mapping coordinates, LEDs, images, and patterns. In senior phase, our in-depth lessons will cover extensive learning outcomes, such as developing research skills, understanding brand alignment and target audiences, will enhance persuasive writing and presentation skills, and will foster critical thinking and creativity. Are you excited or nervous for the future of AI-powered world? In grade 9, students will get an in-depth understanding of advanced AI and its potential implications for society. Students research conflicting viewpoints on a topic, compose an argumentative essay, and then debate their findings. The debate format outlined in the lesson encourages critical thinking, effective teamwork, and persuasive communication skills. These are just a few examples of how coding and robotics can be integrated into other subjects and areas of learning. Back to you, Demi.
Thank you, Alison, for those wonderful lesson demonstrations and for showing us how Code for Kids can be integrated into other subjects. We've covered a lot in today's session. We've learned how to create a free Code for Kids account, how to add, remove, and manage student accounts, and how students can log in using the school URL or by using the join code before each session. We've also learned how to access teacher resources, guides, and lessons, how to access and use the assessment and progress tracking module to make your end of year reporting a breeze. And then we've learned how to access and use the lesson plan, teacher guides, and the student dashboard. We've also gone through how to teach a Microbit lesson in grade 4. And then we've explored the extended learning lessons. Lastly, we've seen how easy it is to integrate Code for Kids into other subjects. We sure have gone through a lot, and we hope that this training has given you the confidence to use Code for Kids in your classroom. Now, onto some of your questions. Throughout the session, we've been keeping an eye on the questions coming through from you. And I'd now like to take a few minutes to provide some answers to the most frequently asked questions. Alongside Alison and myself, we have with us today Jackie, our resident curriculum expert here at Code for Kids, who's here to help answer some of these questions. So let's have a look at some of the questions. Jackie, one of the questions we've gotten in the chat is about the microbit lessons. Can the microbits be coded virtually on MakeCode? And if they can, how is this done?
Hi everyone. Yes, Microbit and MakeCode are the app and the little device that will make you look like a coding superhero to your students. It most definitely can be used. MakeCode, and it develops and improves all the time. But you can use a simulator, so it looks identical to the Microbit. You can see both sides of it. You code it. And what happens is instead of downloading your code and using it on a physical microbit, you can actually recreate that whole experience using a simulator. So when I first started teaching coding and we weren't investing in any physical robotics, this was the way to go. Students get an amazing experience, and it makes it all the more exciting when you eventually access a microbit, and microbits are relatively inexpensive in the world of robotics, and they can share. And then the students get to actually take that code, put it into their microbit, and they can see it in both environments. So absolutely, start with MakeCode, and then when you're confident, move into the physical microbits.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Jackie. Another question that we see coming through, Alison, maybe you can help us with this, is can the training that staff go through be repeated for new staff that join throughout the year?
Yes, Demi, we do provide teacher training online for any new teacher who is new to Code for Kids. Of course, there are a lot of guidance within our platform with all the teacher guides and the lesson plans. So it really is a matter of looking through all of those and familiarizing yourself with them. But we do support throughout the year, and we also provide the online teacher training.
Fantastic. And just to add to that as well, for that particular question, is that the training that we provide even throughout the year is done at no additional charge to the school. So our success team is here to support you on your journey. Thank you, Alison. Okay, another question that we get asked is to explain about the platform and what do schools get with the free version of Code for Kids and what do schools get when they pay for a Code for Kids license? And this is a really, really great question. So just to give a bit of insight on this, we at Code for Kids are giving free access to all the term 1 content from grade R all the way to grade 9, as well as the extended learning courses and the resource guides. You can also then, for the free account, upload as many students as you need to, but keeping in mind that these learners will be limited to the term 1 content, which essentially brings together 10 lessons per a grade. With the paid Code for Kids account, schools get access to a full year's worth of content. That's up to 40 lessons per grade, from grade R all the way to grade 9. You also get the wonderful teacher training, the continuous support throughout the year, and access to that amazing assessment and reporting module. So that's essentially the difference between the Code for Kids paid and the Code for Kids free account. Jackie, I think this next question is, I'm gonna pop this one to you. And it's a big question that a lot of schools have is, do we need physical components or robots? And does Code for Kids provide these robots?
Okay, that's a multiple part question. So let me start off with the easiest one, and that is no. You do not need to have physical components, especially when you're getting started. But I will add to that question, a lot of the components that are required in robotics your school may already have. If you've been teaching technology anywhere up from grade 4 up, you will probably have access to little bits and bobs that you've used in your school, be it a light bulb or connectors and all sorts of things for circuits. And that's where it all starts. So that is the quick answer, is look around what you have at school and use that. However, our lessons are designed that they either use recyclables or it can be done online. So we do cover all aspects of it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jackie. Alison, question I think maybe you could answer is, how do we ensure that, or how do schools ensure that they are aligned with CAPS, with Code for Kids?
Okay, well, our team has been working very, very hard with all of our CAPS documents, and we have a comprehensive curriculum that is 100% aligned to CAPS. So as we've demonstrated in the curriculum maps and all the lessons that are targeted specifically for CAPS, they're all aligned to the skills and the competencies.
Fantastic. Thank you, Alison. Another question that we get asked is, what additional content is provided for students that finish lessons quickly? Jackie, you wanna answer that one?
Yeah, short answer is get into our extended curriculum that Alison detailed earlier on. It is brilliant. If you have got students that are finishing early, most of the time we do have extension work set within the lesson, but you're always going to get a few students that want to move forward, and that is the perfect authentic coding robotics area to move them into. They actually are learning and playing at the same time. It's brilliant.
Absolutely. Yeah, and those are two fantastic options, the extended learning options, lessons, as well as those explore and challenge activities at the end of at the end of most of the lessons. Jay, I think another one for you would be, what coding languages are taught in the InterSyn phase or the senior phase?
What is required is, according to CAPS, is you will touch on Python, you touch on, they use Turtle, which is a very similar language. Block coding is carried on all the way through. However, I do think that our students probably get the best experience by pushing them a little bit harder. But bear in mind, they're doing block coding all the way down from grade 2 all the way up. So by the time they get to grade 7, 8, and 9, they really are ready for a bigger challenge. And that is probably the most valuable aspect of our extended curriculum, because I think, again, Alison, you did mention there's JavaScript that children have access to. And there's all sorts of other languages. There's HTML, which is a language in itself that students are exposed to. So we do offer the basics and then go a couple of steps ahead. But yeah, the basics are definitely covered, and you can work with that as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Jackie. Another one that's coming on, I think a little bit linking to like devices and things like that, is for the grade 7 curriculum, are we able to use physical equipment that would link with the lessons? If so, what would we need to look at, like Arduinos or what devices would they look at?
It really depends on where you're starting. So if you have had Lego in your school, the Lego robotics that are there, Lego has its own app that works almost, it is so similar to Scratch, and of course we teach Scratch. There is also an extension in Scratch which allows you to utilize your Lego robots. If you use any Microbit based robot, in other words, there's a lot that are out at the moment. Tinkercad has got extensions, Scratch has got extensions, and so does MakeCode. So all of what we teach in the environment, you can download that code or use that code to actually work with a physical robot. So absolutely interchangeable and great fun.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Another question about like the curriculum is, are the lessons accommodating the special needs learners in any of the activities and lessons?
Yes, and I can only do that. I can say that from having experience with children with different needs, because robotics and coding as a subject is created not to have this is correct, this is wrong, and students are allowed to work at their own pace. It's a much believe it or not, it's actually a stressless environment in which children can work. So you can have a group of students with a variety of different needs, and they can all work at the same time because you have this individualized kind of learning experience. So I think it's a subject made for that, actually.
Awesome. Thank you, Jackie. Alison, maybe you can answer on this one. Is what type of training or certificate would a teacher need to have so it's a little bit not too much into them, but as a foundation phase teacher to start teaching coding and robotics, if any?
If any. Well, we do provide a certificate of basic training when we do our training with the students, with the teachers. And this also gives them some SACE points. As long as they have attempted a lesson, done a lesson with students, and given us some evidence that they've done these things, then we do provide those points through SACE. And there are plenty of other external places that you can go and do mini courses, but doing our teacher training is also going to be highly beneficial.
Awesome. Thank you. And then I'll take a few more of our questions that we see coming through. One of them was how we assess students on Code for Kids. And to answer that, as I've shown you a little bit today, we've seen the amazing assessment and reporting module on the Code for Kids platform, which will really make assessing your students' progress super easy. We also have in the teacher guides those observation rubrics that's available for teachers to use. And then in some of our activities, we'll have some quizzes and things like that that students can answer and can be assessed in that way. And then a last question from our side that we see is, does the Code for Kids curriculum deal with AI? And as Alison showed us a little bit today, we include a lot of content on AI and related topics in the older grades. Obviously, they are very age-appropriate topics. And she showcased to us how other subjects can be integrated with code in that section. One of our grade 9 lessons where students research conflicting viewpoints on whether AI could surpass human intelligence. They then compose an argumentative essay and debate their findings. So it's a very fun lesson. It's a very cool lesson. It's something that could be done over multiple coding lessons in your curriculum or in your timetable. So yes, we do deal with things like AI. Very interesting. A lot of fun lessons coming in there. Okay. There's one more. I'm going to take one more question here, and that is, does the Code for Kids curriculum only cover what CAPS requires, or are there opportunities to extend further than the CAPS curriculum requirements? Alison, you want to attack that one a little bit?
Yes, so we've already demonstrated the extended learning courses, and we will be adding more courses to our extended learning courses. And then we've also included in many of our lessons a digital concepts lessons. And these are not specifically CAPS aligned, but they are ways in which we have extended the courses using mouse skills and keyboard skills and all those other basics of using Google Docs, spreadsheets, all of those types of things to really extend and to ensure that they have a very holistic viewpoint of ICT.
Awesome. Thank you, Alison. Jackie, anything to add on that last question?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100% with Alison. Also, remember that when we talk about the basics CAPS curriculum, it is amazing. It's not huge. So where we have, especially when you're getting to intermediate and senior phases and you have extra hours, there is always opportunity to extend it and to stretch the students just a little bit more. And you'll see one of the lessons that was demoed was Microbits in grade it was a grade 4 lesson. And in fact,
Yeah.
we started in grade 4 because the students are actually asking for it. It actually extends CAPS curriculum, because in the CAPS curriculum, they only ask for Scratch and block coding. But we start getting it in a little bit earlier. We like to keep our students challenged, and we like to keep them excited about what they're doing, and they absolutely run with it. Yeah. So yes,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Thank you, Alison, for answering these questions. And a big thank you to our amazing teachers in the audience today for submitting those questions to us. So what's next? We encourage all of you to try out our free lessons and incorporate them into your classroom. Keep an eye out for our post-webinar email, which will include a recording of the session and all the resources that were mentioned today. If you'd like to sign up with Code for Kids for your school, visit our website or scan the QR code on screen to book a meeting or to register for your school. I'd like to say one last massive thank you to the hundreds of teachers that have joined us today. We hope that you are excited and feeling confident to use Code for Kids in the intermediate and senior phase classrooms. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We hope you have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon further. Be safe and see you next time. Bye.